He sold over $5 million of his online course. Let's find out how he did it. Coming up right now on the Rise to the Top podcast. And welcome, my friends, to the Rise to the Top podcast. It's your great and good friend, David Siteman Garland, a.k.a. DSG. And I've got a little interview here for you today. We haven't done an interview for a while on the Rise to the Top podcast, and I am super excited that we're kicking interviews back off with a big one today, and that is Will Mitchell. Now, Will Mitchell is a Create Awesome Online Courses student, and he has been for several years. And what's interesting is that we've always kind of circled each other a little bit. I know he's a student. He sent me a couple emails before, et cetera, but we're always asking students. We're sending out surveys and polls and different things and finding out from students about their results, where we can do things better, how they're doing with their businesses. And it's always interesting when you uncover someone that you know is doing well, but then you realize, oh my God, he is doing more than well. He is absolutely killing it with online courses. And that is Will Mitchell, like I said. And so Will's going to join me here on the Rise to Top podcast to share this story of what he has done and how he has grown now his online course to be over 5 million in sales. Woo! I love that number. A lot to learn here in this interview. I can tell you that right now. It's one of my favorites that I've ever done. There is a lot to unpack here. It is really, really, really good. He's got a lot of great insights on this. So sit back, enjoy it, get ready to get inspired, get some motivation, get whatever it is that you're going to get from this interview with Will coming up right now. All right, so now I am joined by the one, the only, the Will Mitchell. How are you, Will?
I am very good. Thanks for having me, my friend.
And you just told me you just moved. It wasn't exactly a cross-country move, but you just moved, right?
Yeah, I moved 30 minutes south, so a little bit warmer, a little bit more fun down here. But yeah, so I'm in the moving process and halfway moved.
Nice, and you're down in Florida, right?
Yep.
Very cool. I appreciate that because it's funny when you move or do anything like that, you got to get the internet up right away. When you have the internet business, do you know what I mean, my man? That's the first thing that goes. You might not have a bed, but you've got the internet, so that's good.
If you saw a picture of my desk right now, it is pure chaos in here. Yeah, the setup process for an internet business. First things first, got to get the desk set up, the internet going.
I'm picturing this in my head, and it's making me entertained. So I like that.
I'll send you a picture for the show notes because yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Very cool. I love it. So what's interesting about being able to chat now is that we have kind of circled each other for many, many years. You're a Create Awesome Online Courses student. I've heard your names come up over and over again. And what interesting was that what sparked this kind of conversation was that towards the end of 2018-ish, we sent out a little survey to Create Awesome Online Courses students and asking them what the price was on their course and asking them also if they felt comfortable how much revenue that they generated. And this was, we're looking at 2018 here, Will. And what was mind-blowing to me was learning about your business and how you've generated. Well, why don't you tell us, how much have you generated with your business with online courses now?
We're probably just exceeding 5 million now. Yeah, this year we should hit 7 million this year. So
that's unbelievable. Now, just to give us some basics, we're going to go all the way back in the story, all that kind of good stuff too. What's kind of our time frame here for that total amount?
So I started Startup Bros in 2012 and started just blogging and talking about kind of everything I knew and just trying to help people create value for other entrepreneurs. One of my articles ended up hitting and just got a ton of traffic, ton of emails. So I had all this traffic from 2012 to 2014 for 2 full years. I had hundreds of thousands of hits on this one article every year, and I wasn't making any money off of it. So started, following you and started going through a few of your courses, and, you and your courses kind of helped me monetize everything. It's really incredible. So from April 2014 to today, which is about 5 years, we've done over 5 million. We'll probably end up at 7 million. So about $1 million a year, as crazy as that is to say out loud, about $1 million a year off online courses,
which is just incredible. And by the way, do you sell anything else, or is that the primary source of your business?
That's the primary source of my business. We do have some upsells now. After we had the course, we had a lot of people that wanted to come hang out with us, wanted coaching, wanted to, we help people import products from China. So we do China trips now. But yeah, it all came out of the community that was built out of the course.
I love it. So let's break this down, because this is just going to be an interesting story, I have a feeling, and just learning about how this all happened. So going back to 2012 into 2014, you had this website. What was the article that hit?
The article that hit was How I Made Big Money Importing from China, The Rise and Fall of My Empire. And it was all about just how I got started at a young age on importing products, selling them online, and just showing other people how to do that.
Now, when you enrolled in Create Awesome Online Courses and started want to learn, and you thought, you know what, I want to learn how to do a course. I want to learn how to do these things. What was your why specifically on a course? Because there's a lot of things you could do, right? In this world, you could do all kinds of stuff to monetize or to try to come up with a business model that works for you. And I'm just curious for you, Will Mitchell, what was the appeal of online courses?
Every other business out there, the article that I wrote and the main course that we sell, it's all about physical products. I had been doing physical products for a while, and it's just a lot to worry about. With the online courses, what was really appealing to me was I could legitimately just kind of hang out in my room, learn about business, experiment, and change the world in that way. I don't know many other ways you can change the world at a more scalable pace than online courses and online communities. Like, I can't go speaking at events and have the impact. So, for people that want to change the world and do it from their bedroom, I think this is one of the best business models out there.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's one of the, we could list 1,000 appeals, obviously, of online courses. And it's interesting that that's totally a big one, because I love hearing from people that are saying, you know what, people used to learn from me just in my hometown or not at all. And now I've got people in, Bangladesh that are learning, and people that are all over the place. And you're able to do this because of the unlimited scalability of this. I mean, for example, you have a great business. You could travel around and speak, but you'd be on the road all the time. You would be capped about how many events you could do. And yeah, you're super cool, but there's going to be a cap on how much money you could make for sure in terms of how much someone would pay you. But with online courses, obviously you're getting that infinite scalability. Now, when you decided, okay, the course is going to be for me, I'm going to put effort into this, we're going to make this happen, did you know what your topic was going to be for your online course, or did you have to discover that over time? Because people are mixed. Some people do, some people don't.
So I didn't really have to discover it when I created the course, but I did have to discover it. I had to figure out what's something really valuable that I know that people are going to be willing to pay me to learn and kind of accelerate their learning. So yeah, I don't think that, I'm sorry, your question was...
Well, I was saying that, basically when you came in, because your course topic, tell us your course topic out loud. I know what it is, but I just want to make sure everyone else knows it.
Yeah, so we teach people how to sell products on Amazon. So import them from China, find profitable products, and turn those into a brand and a business.
Cool. And it's called E-commerce Empire. And so what I was asking is, what I see a mix of this. I see people go one way or the other. It's kind of like, we make the joke, it's sort of like the eye doctor, or is it one or two, right? One or two. And one is people when they decide, guess what? I'm going to do a course. A course is going to be for me. I'm going to do this, and they know exactly what their topic is. That's a number one. So someone's like, you know what? I know that my topic is, fly fishing for women over 50, whatever it is. Okay. And then you've got number twos that aren't sure exactly, or maybe it needs a little juice to try to figure it out, a little elbow grease trying to get down to what that topic might be. And I was curious for you, whether you fell more into that one or two category when you were getting started.
So we kind of knew what we were going to teach just because we had all that traffic already. But I think it's really important to go through the discovery process. If anyone hasn't read The Lean Startup, it's a great book. And it talks about this concept of the MVP, the minimum viable product. With any idea, there's a possibility that it fails. If you go create a product, there's a possibility that nobody actually wants it. So what I wanted to do was go out and validate the demand before I went and spent all this time doing it. So you'll probably like this, David. What we actually do now, and the kind of model that we've pivoted into, is we do these group coaching programs to launch a new program. So if we're going to go into a new vertical, for instance, I just did a group coaching program on entrepreneurial productivity. So with that, I wasn't sure if people were going to pay for that. Like, maybe people just want to read about productivity and they're not willing to pay for it. So we did a group coaching program to start and said, hey, come hang out with us for 8 weeks. We're going to, every week we're going to get on. I'm going to take you through this, this, and this. And we basically do a rough offer to them. And based on those sales, we will either turn that program into a static course or just kill it at that point. So I think it's really important for people to validate their demand before going through and building out, all 8 modules and everything. The core of this, though, is having an audience. So because I had an audience, I kind of was able to just ask them what they wanted. If you don't have an audience, then I think it's really critical to figure out who your target customer is and get in touch with them so you can make sure that they're actually going to buy this thing.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And Will, I don't know if you know this or not. This is kind of like new-ish news at the time of this recording of this podcast, but did you know that there's going to be a new version of Create Awesome Online Courses coming out? Did you know that?
I did not, but I'm not surprised because, yeah, you keep things up to date.
We have completely blown up the #1 program in the world for online courses and completely created one that's 100 times better, right? And that's what we've done. And what's interesting is that you bring up some really good points about this because this is something we've learned over time too, because as I now we're releasing version, let's call it 2.0. And by the way, fun fact, all Create Awesome Online Courses customers get 2.0 absolutely free. Fun fact, because we always take care of our CAOC family. A lot of people would charge for that. We don't do that. So everyone, including you, will get a new upgraded version, and everyone else, there's going to be an opportunity to get it on this new one. But those are two things that we talk a lot about in the new version, which we've learned more about over time. Over the since 2013 with Create Awesome Online Courses, because an advantage when we redo something like this is that we've now seen now it's over 5,500 students go through the program, right? So we know where pitfalls are, we know where challenges are, we know where things are, and that's exactly one. There's so much time we spend now on not only building an audience or building an email list, but the right people and building the relationship with them. Right? Because at the end of the day, that is critical. You were at an advantage, and this is a good thing. This is a positive. You had an audience, so you were able to test and validate things. A lot of people are saying, well, I've got this expertise, I've got this thing, so we have to make this audience first. And that's a critical standpoint that you mentioned because, you just didn't do that out of thin air.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I think it's really critical to understand that the audience always has to come first. You're making the course for the audience. So if you don't know who the audience is, yeah, you can go do paid ads and you can go do all these other things, but now you got to master that too. If you have an audience, they will tell you what they want to buy. So it becomes really easy. And let me tell you where I think the big pitfall is for people in that. When I first got started with Startup Bros, it was a side business. I never meant for it to be a business. I mean, I meant for it to be kind of a personal blog. And so I didn't hold back. When I wrote that blog post, it was because everything else out there was just terrible. And I knew it better, and I knew it better, but I didn't know I could make a course at that point. So, thank God I didn't at the time because I just put everything I could into that content. And the audience that I got off of that took the business and myself to places I could never imagine. So my advice for people listening would be, if you do have an expertise, don't hold back because, I think it was Bruce Lee said, you have to pour the water out before you can, put new water or more water into the cup. And your brain's kind of the same way. Like once you release this information that you're holding on to into the world, your brain will be open then to take in kind of a new level. You'll kind of evolve as a business person and gain a new understanding. But I think a lot of people screw this up because they kind of hold back on the content, and your front end content has to be incredible to the point where people are going to say, I need to keep following this person.
Yeah. And it's funny because people have this very kind of irrational fear. I'll just call it what it is because it's just not true. But I understand why people might have it. We hear this all the time. People are like, I'm scared to give good stuff away. I'm scared to give away great content because then no one's going to buy my course, right? And what ends up happening is the exact opposite effect. And I can't tell you how many times, Will, that something like that has been mentioned where someone says, because your course, right, e-commerce empire is very different than that article, meaning you've got videos, there's implementation, there's a community, there's different things that go with that are very different than, say, an article. So there's no reason that you need to hold back on that. I mean, people really get that mess. I 100% agree with you. That's one of the top pitfalls. People are like, well, I don't want to share any tips or advice. What would you say to someone that's sitting there right now and saying, you know what? I am an expert in X, or I want to start sharing about X, or whatever it might be, but I'm scared to death that if I do it, no one's going to buy my programs. What would you say to them?
Here's my true advice that is probably bad news for me and you, but here's what I would do. There's an argument to be made that you and I, David, we could go release all of our courses and everything that we have for free, and maybe we become bigger because of that. Maybe we hit a whole new level and we're, on the Gary V level because of that. I don't know. I'm not going to try that. So
don't do that, folks. Don't do that.
I'm not going to try it, but I could definitely see the argument. So if I was just starting out, I would really be trying to impress people with front end content because you can make people like me look like a fool, right? Because most people don't see my back end content. Yeah. So, I mean, my advice, like, guys, get out there and give the world the best you possibly can, because the results will shock you. You don't have, like, you are not selling information. People aren't coming into your course to learn. Learning is not the goal. The result is the goal. So if you make these people confident that with you, they'll be more likely to achieve that goal that they want, it doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter if they're flying out to you for a workshop, if you're jumping on a webinar with them once a week, if it's a static course. Like, obviously, courses are the most scalable way to do this and the easiest kind of monetization path. But once you have the audience, they will tell you exactly what they want to give you money for. So it becomes really easy.
And I like what you said there, and that's something that we preach over and over again, is that what an online course is, what we're really in is the results business, right? You're in the results business for helping people get a result or some kind of transformation. That's what it's all about. And by the way, one thing I didn't want to forget that you mentioned earlier, Will, that was one point I just want to, and it's funny that normally I wouldn't be talking about Great Awesome Online Courses throughout an entire interview the whole time, like with 2.0 coming out, though it's on my brain, is that's actually something that we teach in 2.0 coming out, is how to validate even better your course idea. So we have a will it sell, a way that we can go through will it sell so you can know in advance, and also ways that you can either pre-record and sell, or you can pre-sell then record, and we go through both those ways. But regardless of what way you want to do it to be successful, there's going to be that front end content, just like you talked about. We're going to be sharing and teaching some great stuff that's going to lead people into your course. So when you first launched your course, Will, and this goes back to 2014, so this is a long time. In internet years, that's like 1,000 years ago, right? When you first launched it, what method did you use to launch it? Did you use anything specific in terms of what way you launched it? Meaning, did you do the video series? Did you do a webinar? Did you do anything specific?
So I'll take you guys through my launch. It is not the sexiest launch in the world. David, I don't know if you remember, but I ended up messaging you guys like maybe 6 hours before the webinar. And I asked you guys, like, hey, do you have a presentation that I can just plug and play and do? Because I don't have a presentation. I got like 1,000 people on a webinar in 6 hours. So
I like the ready, fire, aim here. Got it.
Yes. I think you have to do that. Like, people will not start businesses unless they scare themselves a little bit. So yeah, like I woke up the day of the webinar with no presentation, no offer. I had 2,000 people signed up for a webinar, nothing to do. So I literally emailed David's dad and I was like, hey, I need something here. You guys had like $127 presentation.
Yeah, we had a blueprint. Yeah, we had a webinar blueprint. That's what it was back then. Yep.
I literally opened it up. I kid you not, man. I'll send you the webinar slides and show notes just because it's funny. It's got to be the most plug and play version of that blueprint that anyone's ever done. And on the webinar, so I'm doing the webinar as per your blueprint. As I'm going through, and anyone that's been through that program knows the bridge and everything, how you bridge to the close. So as I'm going into the bridge, and it's very obvious that I'm about to go into the close, my laptop dies. So here I am, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on this webinar. It dies as I'm going into the close, as I'm talking about the price. I come back like 15 minutes later, somehow still had a bunch of people there, did the close, super depressed, walked out of my office. I was like, man, that was a disaster. That must have went so bad. We got to rethink everything. And my business partner was like, hey, dude, there's $36,000 in the PayPal account with another 70 on the way. I'm like, what? And at that point, I mean, the light bulbs just started going off because I literally just took a $127 blueprint and through the most friction, lots of friction, very rough. And somehow we ended up doing over 35,000 live with over 70 on the way in recurring payments and stuff.
That's insane. That's insane. I mean, and by the way, that blueprint is in CAOC 2.0. For those of you that does that still work? Yes, it does. Fun fact.
Well, thank God you guys sold it to me, because I mean, can you imagine if your dad didn't answer that email quickly that day? Like, thank God you guys have a good support team and you guys got your stuff figured out, because I mean, you guys saved me over $100,000 that day. So, and
sometimes it's going at, depending on your personality, Will, it's sometimes it's going at that uncomfortable speed like that is the only reason you were probably able to be successful, if that makes sense, because you weren't able to stop yourself. You're like, we're going. There's people on here. We got to do something. There was no like, I'll do that next week. I'll do that a month from now. I'll do that never, because you were moving and you had to steer the ship because you were going.
Yes, this was purely and exclusively how I made that decision, because I knew that Like I had thousands and thousands of people hitting my website every single day and wasn't making a dime off of them. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do a webinar. I'm just going to set up a landing page. I'm going to email it out. We're going to see who signs up. And it was literally one step at a time. So like I did the webinar lander, did the email, sent it out. We had like 1,700 registrants. And I was like, man, maybe this is actually going to work. But yeah, I mean, we did not give ourselves enough time. Anyone would say that we didn't give it. I mean, we didn't have a presentation 6 hours before. We didn't have an offer. So I made the offer within, 20 minutes going into the webinar.
Yeah, I'm having like an anxiety attack right now. It's funny because I'm like a hyper organized, you know what I mean? And it's like funny. It's like watching us. Everyone's so different. And it's like, I love this. It's just giving me great. It's very interesting.
Disclaimer, I'm much more organized now. That was exclusively such a valuable point you made, because that was exclusively how I made the decision, was saying, listen, guys, we are going to schedule this webinar. And like, there are going to be thousands of people that show up on this day at this time. So figure it out. And I did. Without doing that, though, I'm sure I would have made more and more excuses. I don't know if I ever would have done it. I assume I would have, but would have been another 2 or 3 months, I'm sure.
Do you remember that emotion or what your feeling was because I know whenever you launch something, I don't care what it is. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many times you've done it. I don't care, whatever. When you launch something new, there's always that nervousness, right? There's that nervousness because you don't know. I mean, you don't know. People always like to say, how much am I going to make with a course launch? It's like asking, how much should I go bench press in the gym? You don't know, right? Like, meaning everyone's different, everyone's situation, their background, I don't know if you're an Olympic gymnast or, weightlifter. I don't know if you've never been in the gym before. No, it's very impossible to guess data, right? Until it happens. And for you, can you tell us when you made that first sale, like when you found out, and it obviously was a slew of sales that came in on that webinar, what went through your head?
It bordered on disbelief. Like we did at one point, we thought, man, something must be wrong here. Like PayPal must be displaying something incorrectly but yeah, I mean, it was life-changing for sure. I mean, it's tough to put into words. When something works, it's great. Like we just did our productivity program and that worked and it did well. But when something really works like that, when it goes far beyond your goals and expectations, I mean, those are the feelings that you carry with you to your deathbed, honestly. Those are the true accomplishments where you even surprise yourself. I don't know what can create more confidence in a person than that.
Yeah. And do you remember how much ish was on that first launch?
So the first launch, we had about 200 to 250 members at $9.97 a pop. So it was over 200 grand for sure on the first launch. And then, I mean, David, when we did this too, I mean, after we saw the power of these things, I'll send you my calendar from the time period in the show notes too, because I got to the point where I was doing 5 or 6 live webinars a week, the same presentation, just over and over and over.
You were like on a drug. You got a drug, and you're like, hey, the drug's
legitimately
working.
Was a drug, right? No better drug than that. So yeah, I was absolutely hooked, and for like a year straight, we were just in webinar and launch mode. Every 3 months, we did another group coaching program. And eventually, obviously, that morphed into the static program as we kind of discovered that the group coaching wasn't scalable and I couldn't keep on doing 6 webinars a week forever. Then we realized that the course is, building a real program like David's or E-commerce Empire. It's more time consuming, but infinitely more scalable. That's how you build this business. But we validate demand through the group coaching.
I love that. And by the way, just so people, for those playing at home, if you will, is that number there, 200,000 plus on a first launch is going to put you, Will, in the 0.001%, our top 1% of Create Awesome Online Courses students, for sure. Do you know what I mean?
That's great. And the thing is too, not to cut you off, but to cut you off, I was not that good at this. This was the first time I did it. It was all thrown together. It was a disaster. The batteries were dying. Like, it was a disaster, and we still did that. So what do you take away from that? The polish doesn't matter as much as the relationship that you build with these people and the value that you give them. That is paramount, and that's going to supersede everything.
Yep, and I agree with that. And it's interesting that what we've seen, we've had a lot of success stories here on the podcast. You know what I mean? We've had a lot on my website. We have a lot on our Facebook. We have them all over the place, right? What I love is the uniqueness of everybody's story because, Will, you're an interesting case because you were able to build this audience, then you're able to leverage it, and you're able to build from there. And that's awesome. We've also had tons of success stories where people start with a very teeny tiny small launch, right? Like a few sales, but they realize that they're now validated and they keep growing and growing and growing from there, right? And we've seen it all the way across the spectrum. So I'm saying this really for our listeners now. If you're tuning in, this is like your first Rise Up podcast, and you're like, oh my God, if I don't make Will Mitchell money on my first launch, I'm a failure. That is not true, my friend. Will is in that top level. And this is a good thing on Will, right? You were in that top level that absolutely crushed it. But just because you follow the system and you do your first launch and you make whatever your number is, that's your starting point. It's like putting your anchor in the ground. And so I don't want people, Will, to be discouraged or anything like that. I want them to be inspired by hearing your story.
Yes, absolutely. The reason why we did so well in our first launch was really half luck because we got in on this whole sell products on Amazon craze. I mean, we were literally the first ones. It was us and one other company that were selling a course on it. So we got a little lucky in that we found what would turn into a massive training industry and accidentally got there first. So yeah, don't at all be discouraged by it because I did not do well with the first launch. Like everything went wrong. If David was here during the first launch, he would be pulling his hair out and say like, "This is a disaster. I'm out of here."
I'd have a paper bag like breathing into it. But you know what? And I get it. But and so you set your numbers. If your first launch does $1,000, awesome. That's your anchor. Now let's do better on the next one, right? And Will, that actually brings on a couple of interesting points. Something that you've done well here is one of my favorite words in the online course world is longevity. Right? You've been able to now leverage this for, we're in 5+ years here, right? And this is great for a lot of reasons, but I want to ask a couple questions related to this over time. One, I love that you stayed in your lane. You mentioned you have some other products as well, but when you find your thing, you find your thing. That's what I do with courses, and that seems to be also what you do with e-commerce empire. That's still the core, right?
Yes. And I think people have to build their product and their business for their target customer. I think a lot of people in the entrepreneurship and startup space, they end up building lifestyle businesses that are really for them. And I think you can take a working business and turn it into a lifestyle business pretty easily, but you have to get the business working first. So let's figure out what are people, what do they want from us? What can we offer them? Build that relationship, do all that first. Yeah, I think you definitely have to do that.
Yeah. So with that, something you mentioned that was interesting, and this is also happening with lots of other people in all kinds of different industries right now, is you mentioned the word kind of competition or that you were the first to arrive to a certain situation, right? And we see this with students and we see this with outside students or other people as well, is that now your space is now more crowded. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely.
And
unbelievably.
And by the way, I can relate to that. Will 100% with online courses. When I first started online courses, it was, I don't want to say that I had it was a monopoly or something ridiculous like that, but there was a lot of people selling things like how to do information products or here's like 10 different things you could do, or they just mentioned like kind of haphazardly, here's how to do a course, right? There wasn't anything else necessarily like Create Awesome Online Courses when it came out. Now we've got a lot more competition, right? For sure. I mean, there's all kinds of people. I think there's people that are coming into business and out of business probably every day, right? And it's great because it's definitely shifted our business. I'm curious for you, has that had any effect on you, positive, negative, et cetera? And how have you kind of navigated those waters as more and more people come in? And I'm sure some are okay and some are not so okay.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. A really interesting kind of journey that I've gone through and you've gone through to be kind of early in one of these training niches and then see it blow up. The interesting thing that happens is, a lot of people just are not here to stay. And a lot of people end up, whether it's over promising and not being able to deliver and you piss off your customers and now you've ruined your reputation. You see that from time to time. But the really interesting thing that I had to wrap my head around in this business is that you end up having to change your offer every 6 to 12 months. Because what happens is if your business model is working and if your course is working and it's creating results, people start not only stealing it, the information inside, but also attacking your sales message. So they'll start directly positioning their product against yours. And again, 90% of the time, for someone like me or David, who's wholeheartedly committed to creating the best products for our customers, and
we will crush you. No, just kidding.
But for people like us, like we take a lot of time and energy to maintain these courses and make sure that they're always up to date. But a lot of these people just do the marketing and they don't actually fulfill the product, right? So they'll create these sexy marketing pitches that are directly positioned against yours and mine and make people say, you know, they're literally designed to get you doubting good programs. And those people kind of wreck industries. It's really unfortunate. You know, internet marketing in general kind of went through this. You saw, like, no one is debating that internet marketing works or doesn't work, right? Every company online uses internet marketing, but this internet marketing niche got so competitive that all of the different course sellers were tearing each other down. And the customer at that point said, like, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I'm out. This is a crazy industry. I'm just not dealing with it. I can't figure out what's going on here. So it's an interesting part of this business when you have a course that works, to figure out how to have the longevity, not only keep it up to date and keep pushing better results than everyone else, but also make it clear in the marketing. You know, if you and I are spending all of our time making the best program possible, everyone else is spending all their time attacking our sales messages and making sure people doubt our program. So it's an interesting part of this business for sure.
So many points there that were so right on. And I agree with that. And I think, yeah, you have to focus on yourself and your business and continuing to have the best product with the best results, because that at the end of the day, what it's going to be about. Because you're right. What ends up happening is you get these fly by the night or people that move in and out of industries. I could write down 10 people that were doing what I was doing last year that no longer are.
Yes. Yeah. Same here. And the software that's attached to it. And yeah.
And because a lot of times in the course world, you're going to get people that are sort of, for lack of a better term, kind of like opportunists or sort of biz op, if you will, where they think that this is just an opportunity to jump onto something fast, and it's not, right? It's all about having the long-term success in mind. It's not a money grab, and we're teaching about e-commerce today, and then tomorrow you're teaching about how to tie shoes, right? It's not like that. That's not going to fly overnight. And also having it, and I hate to use this term because we shouldn't even have to use this term, I'm just going to say it, is you have to approach it like a real business, meaning you have to have customer service and things like that I'm going to ask you about here in a second, Will, to have this. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you don't want to lowball your marketing. And what I mean by lowball the marketing, let's just use online courses here as an example. You know, I always tell people, if someone says how to create your online course in 3 minutes with no experience, no money, no idea what you're doing, and you don't even know what your name is, you should be wary of that. Do you know what I mean? If someone is saying how to create an e-commerce empire in 15 minutes with no effort or time put into it, you know what? That's going to be something that's going to go. So I think another thing that I like to emphasize with my programs is like, look, we have the blueprint, we've got the support, we've got all the things, the community that you need. But yes, it's about putting the darn work in, right? If you want to get results, you got to put the darn work in.
Anyone who says anything other than that, I spend so much time creating great tools and resources for my customers and you know, people in our courses to accelerate their learning, accelerate their understanding, accelerate their results. But yeah, anyone who's telling you that they're going to get you results in a certain time frame and this, you got to be wary of that stuff. I personally think, like, if I was just starting out again, I don't know what your refund policy is like, David, but I do 90 days unconditional, 100% money back on everything I sell. And my thing is, I don't even understand if people want to get into something like create awesome online courses or starting an e-commerce business, whatever, like, go sign up for 2 or 3 programs, go through them a little bit, see which one you want. But what I really hate to see is when someone emails me for weeks and weeks on end, like, what's the difference between your program and this program and this and this? And it's like, dude, just jump in and look,
right? Because it's not
there's
a tattoo.
No risk.
It's not a tattoo.
Yes, you are wasting valuable time where you could be getting results here. There is no risk in trying it out. Yeah, I think people in general, you know, risk tolerance is very attached to business success. So, but yeah, there's no risk. If you got even a 30-day money back guarantee, like, just put it on Google Calendar.
And that's the thing, like, we always talk about this, that we have very lenient guarantees. Well, okay, so 90 days is the most lenient I've ever heard in my life. That might be on the cusp of insanity. We do 30 days, 100% money back. And by the way, that's also how I teach it as well. Okay. That's also how I teach it. And what's interesting about this is that, yes, there seems to be a trend here, especially among people that maybe aren't as confident, whatever it might be, where they try to get people to give you their firstborn child and all these things to try to get a refund. And to me, that's a red flag if I was looking to sign up for something, right? Because I would think to myself that if this program is so good and I can, get in there and implement it, and this does nothing to do with some people that might come in and say, you know what, this just isn't for me, right? But I'm talking about people that come in, if they're willing to put in the work and do it, it should work. It should work. Otherwise, guess what? Shouldn't be for them, and you don't deserve their money, and I don't deserve their money, right?
And my logic on this is, you and I are in it for the long haul. Like, we're young guys, we know that we're going to be in business for a long time, and that our reputations need to be gold. So yeah, we're always going to maintain these things and make sure that the customers are getting what they want. If you go with people that have these refund policies, like, I want people to use the refund. Like, come in the program, check it out. If it's not for you, that's fine. But you know what? You're going to see that Startup Bros has the best courses you've ever seen in your life and the best communities. And you know what? Next time we either sell something that you actually do want to do, or you come back to this business model in the future, we're going to be the first people that you think of. And you know that when you purchase with us, there's not going to be any risk. Like, go ahead and buy the impulse, because 5 days from now, if you decide you don't want to do the business, like, it's a 15-second process.
Yeah, let the product be the proof, right? Let the products say, hey, here it is. Let's go. Let's do this thing. I love that.
And I'm in the relationship game. I want to build relationships with people. I want to help them achieve their goals, and I want to change the world in a specific way. Money's great, but as anyone who's made over $1 million will tell you, after you make that million, it becomes pretty depressing, because you have to figure out what your true meaning is.
So I love it. I love the rant. Two more things I want to talk about here, as we kind of wrap up here in a few minutes, because this has just been just a very enlightening and interesting conversation for sure. I want to talk a little bit about customer kind of service, let's just put it that way, or taking great care of customers. And I also want to talk a little bit about what's kind of working right now for you on the marketing end. So with customer service, you mentioned this, and obviously you just mentioned a huge aspect of it, the refund policy and things like that. What do you guys actively do? Because I notice that people that are successful over the long haul put thought into customer service, obviously, and making sure that customers are well taken care of, which of course is a broad term. I could give you some specifics on it, but I'm going to give you that broad term. How do you guys create a first-class customer experience?
Yeah, and I think you said it perfect right there. It's a customer experience. When people purchase something with anyone, they're buying an experience. They're not really buying a product. At least not anymore. Maybe back in the 90s or something. But nowadays, people buy experiences. So you have to think about the full customer life cycle in every aspect of this. Now, those of you listening have a huge advantage, because you are the target customer right now. Like, David and I don't have as much time anymore to spend going through courses and communities as I'm sure we'd both like to. There's just so much going on, and yada, yada, all the excuses. But you guys are the target customer still. I found this business so easy to build when I was the target customer. The longer I go and kind of the bigger the business gets and my different businesses, the more difficult I actually find it to relate to the target customer as much and create that sterling silver customer experience. So I think you hit the nail on the head. We don't really sell courses so much as experiences, right? And the experience that someone has going through my program, I know I've been in lots of programs where, like, I need to get into the program now. And there's lots of little bugs that happen with these membership platforms. I can't tell you how many times I've emailed and been like, hey, I just bought and I can't log in. And 5 days later, here's some person from India telling me something. So I want people to think of Will Mitchell and David Siteman Garland as some of the best business people alive. So we spend a lot of money on support. We spend a lot of time and energy creating the customer experience. What does that mean? Well, we created an entirely proprietary membership platform because we couldn't find anything that did what we wanted for the customer. We couldn't track the things we wanted to. We couldn't give them, like when we do events and stuff, people get badges and they can kind of show off what events they've been to. So there's all these different things that we just couldn't do in any platform. So we went out and built one ourselves. And So yeah, we do a lot on the support side. In terms of our actual support team, I have 2 people that work support full time, and then they're pretty much just answering phones and emails and live chats all day. I think it's essential to make it easy. My whole thing with customer service is like, it needs to be really easy to access, and the customer needs to get the answer as quickly as humanly possible.
Speed matters so much on this, and it's funny because people. If I remember, I looked at when I was doing some research in the past on something, and I looked at some people in different industries and that were course creators and things like that. People that I thought were maybe having some challenges, and it was interesting that those were the top complaints. If you went on their Facebook page or went somewhere where you could see some people talking about things in public, it was always like, I sent an email to support 17 years ago and nobody got back to me. Do you know what I mean? And it's stuff like that because people don't think about these things. And this is something that's so important. You have to take great care. And speed matters. I'm not saying that you have to solve every problem in 2 seconds, right? I mean, things are going to come up. But getting back to people and knowing that they're in your family. And it's not just that you were just taking money and running up a mountain with them. I mean, this is a real thing that they're in, and that you're in that
care
with
about them,
right? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you genuinely care about them and genuinely want them to succeed. People are not going to be upset with you if they buy your program and it doesn't work. They're going to refund, and then they're going to leave happy. You will get a 5-star review for that. If your support team takes even 12 hours to respond, you are going to start getting complaints on that. Whether that's going from 5-star to 4-star or people actually getting upset and freaking out. Like, what happens when someone screwed up their budgeting and now they have some bill that's due? Some person has to pay for a funeral or something. Like, we have a real obligation to these people to make sure we give them the best service possible. So something comes up, like, I need people there. If it's not going to be me, I need people there that are ready, willing, and able to help them at any time of the day. So yeah, we have 24/7 customer service. We do it all via live chat, email, and phone, however people want. We also take text messages. So I kind of make my support team available in as many channels as possible, whatever's most convenient for them. And then on the actual members area, we also have, through a tool called Help Scout, which is our kind of shared email inbox platform, our customer service inbox platform. That also has a help desk. So when people, say you're on my members area and you need to change your password, they're going to open up a live chat and type in the word password or something, and a bunch of different help doc articles are going to come up and say, hey, this might solve your problem immediately. And that's great because now that person doesn't have to wait 4 hours for someone to respond, and my customer service doesn't have to deal with it, right? So it's the best of both worlds. But yeah, it's all about solving problems for customers. Business in general, it's all about solving problems.
Love it. Love it. Now, final question here, Will, and then on the way out, we're going to give some links, all kind of stuff like that. Just curious, and we just have a few minutes left here, but for you now, obviously, everything evolves over time. Your business evolves, you evolve, your customers evolve, everything is evolving, and which is exciting, scary, exciting, all that kind of stuff. And for you, right now, what is the best way? And I'm not talking traffic-wise. I'm talking about how people get into your course. Is it live webinars? Is it something else? What is your number one? Because people love hearing about this. What is your number one kind of converter, whatever you want to call it, converter from someone that's not a customer to a customer right now?
Yeah, I guess like the sales mechanism.
Yes, the converter.
Right now, it's a live webinar. And we sometimes will actually play a replay on the live webinar. And of course, we tell people that we're doing that, but I just don't want to do a live webinar every single week anymore. This is an evergreen program, though. A lot of programs out there are not evergreen, and they don't continuously launch all throughout the year. Ours is. So every Monday, we have a sales webinar, and our website's kind of been built at this point to funnel leads into that webinar. But we are about to blow that all up because I actually don't think webinars are the way of the future. I think things are changing a lot right now. I would tell your audience, like, I'd be interested to hear from your audience. What is converting them into programs? Because that's what's going to be working. I think chatbots are super interesting. I think chatbots may end up being more important than websites within 3 to 5 years. I haven't done anything with them yet, but that's an area that we're going to be exploring pretty soon. Automated webinars is another thing. We've seen the attendance rate on live webinars, from 2014 to today, we're looking at about a 70 to 80% drop in attendance rates.
No surprise. That's kind of an industry across many, many industries.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're losing 70 to 80% of the attendance rate, that means we're losing 70 to 80% of the potential revenue, right? So one of the challenges that we're kind of going into this month and next month is kind of rethinking how we're converting people. We're going to test out automated webinars because when people watch our presentation, they actually convert at the exact same rate as they did in 2014, almost to the exact percentage. Like, it's really impressive how consistent the presentation conversion rate has been. But getting people to watch the presentations are a problem right now. So I think on-demand live webinars are going to be something that we start looking at. And if I can tie a automated webinar with Slack, because my team uses Slack to communicate, if I can tie that up and people can chat with me and my sales team from an automated webinar in Slack, now, I mean, that's going to be the most incredible converter I've ever seen. But I actually don't have a great answer for that right now, because I think it's an area of my business that is currently in flux. And I hope that in about a month or 2 months, I have a real solid converter that's going to take us through the next 3 to 5 years.
All right, I love it. And by the way, that's also something that comes with the territory of scaling, right? Because we talk about this in launching. There's your first launch. We actually talk about 4 ways in the new Create Awesome Online courses that you can do your first launch that all work really, really well right now. But then scaling is a whole nother animal. When you get up there and you're in now the millions of dollars and you're looking to get to more millions of dollars and more customers and things change, you got to keep your kind of pulse on it. And it's also pretty cool as you go on. You can experiment, right? You can try different things and see, guess what? I'm going to take this webinar and I'm going to make it an on-demand thing. Or guess what? Something that we're going to play with, Will, just coming up, a little spoiler alert, is we're going to be working on a demo, which are very popular right now. It's kind of a presentation into a demo that we're going to be doing. That's going to be super cool. Spoiler alert.
Is that almost like a Udemy sort of thing where you can preview the pieces of the course?
Yes, sort of. I don't know what Udemy is doing, so I just kind of said yes, sort of, even though I have no idea.
Sounds similar.
But basically, something where it's going to be kind of a hybrid of a little bit of teaching and presentation, but then actually showing people Create Awesome Online courses, right? And showing them what it will do for them and walking them through it, like literally on the screen, and showing this and kind of making that a lot of what it's about as we go into it, and showing people, because a lot of times with the course, it's a visual thing. And by the way, will it work? Will it not? I don't know. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on my emails, because whenever this all drops in your members area, I'm going to spend a lot of time in your members area. It sounds like you guys are really making some big pushes forward too.
Big pushes for my friend, just like you are. So, Will, as we wrap up, first of all, this was just great. I was texting. Shouldn't be texting when I'm doing an interview, but I did one text. I just want to share with you, where I sent it to Lindsay, and I said, Lindsay, our operations manager, and I said, this is just an unbelievable conversation I said I'm having with Will. I said this Will interview is insanely good, like crazy good. And then I did 6 little fire emojis. And she goes, I had a feeling, blah, 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 blah. So I want to thank you, Will. And first of all, congratulations on all the success, the future success. I mean, it's just a testament to your hard work and your ability to go, it's just funny. You could go all the way back to the beginning if you hadn't taken the chance on the program and then followed it and then said, you know what, I'm going to stick a date on my calendar and we're doing this. Who knows where you'd be here today, but I'm glad that you are. And on the way out, where are some links where people can connect, or where's the best place we should send people to either check out what you're doing? Maybe they're interested. Hey, maybe they're interested in e-commerce. I don't know. Where would be the best place for to send folks?
Yeah, absolutely. Just check out startupbros.com. We're always posting new content there. I'll be doing more on YouTube this year, so you can check out the Startup Bros YouTube channel. That'll be very populated soon. I still have a bunch of stuff in there now, but I'm going to be really focusing on that coming mid this year. And feel free to email me too. My email is will@startupbros.com. I am still able to answer the vast majority of my emails myself. Yeah, feel free to email me. I live and breathe this stuff. I love this conversation. Yeah, and it was great to hang out with you too, David, because I mean, you can literally track the growth of my business through my emails that I've sent you. I think I've only emailed you like 5 or 6 times ever. Each time, like my dollar profit per email sent to you is through the roof. It's incredible. So
not until you see my next bill. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that means a lot, Will. I really appreciate that. It seriously means a lot.
Yeah, and to close out too, I know David and I are both blessed to have we've been able to grow very far into this industry. And I know there's a lot of lingo that's probably been dropped today. Maybe some people are intimidated by some of the numbers or, the fact that, we had an audience starting out or something. But these are all just little details. Like, you guys are building a business, and David's course works, my course works. Like, there's programs out there. One thing I always like to tell people is, like, if you can go talk to the people that had results from these programs, then you know that they work. Like, someone is getting these great results out of this program. So your challenge is then to figure out what's holding you back. What's the one little misunderstanding? Because I've always found that it's one little misunderstanding that just takes you to a whole new level and a whole new plateau. And then you got to figure out what's holding you back at that level. So definitely don't be intimidated by any of this. The profit margins on online courses are unparalleled. There's literally nothing that has the profit margins of online courses. And it's scalable. It's I wouldn't say easy, but it's a pretty easy business. And I think, like, David's got a great money back guarantee. There's no downside in jumping in, learning how David's mind works and how his company has developed these strategies and thinks about these things. And even if you refund, like, now you have all that knowledge. So
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Will. I appreciate it. Thanks, and good luck with everything. And next time we chat, you'll have more unpacked, and we'll be ready to go. Congrats on the move, and thanks for sharing everything today.
You too, my friend.
And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Will Mitchell. I know I did. I feel like we could have gone on for many more hours here on the Rise to Top podcast. And if you didn't know, the cat is out of the bag that a brand new version of Create Awesome Online Courses is coming out this month. So we're talking about April 2019, a brand new version. We have taken the #1 program in the world, broken it down, and rebuilt it, updated everything. I got to tell you, it's about 100x more awesome than the original, which is even hard to say because the original was so awesome. So without further ado, you can tell I'm pretty fired up about this. And all our Create Awesome Online Courses students are getting access to it because that's how we take care of our family. But here's the thing. If you want to find out about the new Create Awesome Online Courses first, and you want to make sure that you are going to be able to lock in the lowest price it will ever be offered at, make sure to go to createawesomeonlinecourses.com/waitlist. So createawesomeonlinecourses.com/waitlist and put in your email, and you'll be the first to find out about it as it is released this month. And it's going to be a game changer, my friend. So if you've ever thought about doing online courses, or if you've ever thought about doing it the right way, or you're looking to quit that job or change your life, whatever it might be, I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to get on that wait list at createawesomeonlinecourses.com/waitlist. All right. I will see you next time, my friends. It's been David Seth McGarland here on the Rise Up podcast. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.